see me? Can you see me, little one?
No, all I have is upcoming try 3 here. I have nothing else.
Okay, well, I'm on try 4 already. Go live. Reset, little one. Hello, Gene. Okay. So you're on try 4 and it seems to be working fine. Okay. Let's see. Could have been one of these wires over here somewhere, somehow. But I don't know. Well, wait for other people to find us back again. What a pain in the butt. It would be nice to have loads of money. Problem is, it's complicated to have loads of money. Even if you win the lottery, it gets complicated. Okay, little one. Yeah, I could hear the audio. It's not flickering either now. I think it might have been the USB bus that was the problem.
Well, whatever you do, don't touch anything.
Not touching anything. Yes, I do too, Gene. I love simplicity. Oh.
Okay, I took yours off on my book.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be nice if you break connection with YouTube, it would stop the stream. But no, it keeps it running on its end. So anyhow, we got 4 people showed up now. Hi, Honey Bunny. Are we back yet? I am. It seems to be working okay. I think it was somewhere in the USB bus. There was a loose connection. It's kind of hard to tell. Anyhow, it's probably Putin, man. Putin's trying to mess me up. Or was it global warming? I forget. One or the other. Let's see. This week, Eva's still doing generally okay. Having good days, bad days, but not too much in the way of bad days. Sometimes her stomach gets a little unsettled, but that's not too bad. Aside from that, I've been spending a lot of time just watching the news because lots of stuff's going on. Doing some experiments for the project down in Nicaragua. And thank you, Honey Bunny. So one thing that I started trying last week was roasting. As you saw from the thumbnail, doing the flash roasting. Now, oh yeah, a bunch of them, Honey Bunny. So in order to use my furnace for the flash roasting, first there was a problem. I thought initially that the vent hole in the top of the furnace was kind of somewhere near the middle because it's not too far off center when you look at it from the front. When you look at it inside, there's so much insulation there that it's actually real close to the side. And so if I just drop stuff through, it was building up on the ledges, which has your heating elements. Hey, Rock. Yeah, Rock, Lauren's out there. He's down there in Butte building pads and babysitting drillers and stuff. At least it's not way out in the sticks, you know? I think I understand what you're saying, Honey Bunny. The total capacity we need is maybe at this stage thing, maybe 100 pounds in 24 hours, which is what? So 100, come on, 100 divided by 24, 4 pounds an hour times 454. Why did you get smaller? 4 times 454. A couple kilograms divided by 60, 30 grams per second. It'd be feeding fairly fast through there, but I think if you had a large enough tube, it's not so much test samples, Honey Bunny, as it just concentrates. And Jared did an experiment last week where he took the sulfide cons, the below gold line sulfide cons we get from retabling and stuff, and put them in the small ball mill and reground them again, and then retabled them. And he got a significant size gold line. Okay. He's supposed to have Fresia take samples of the heads, the sulfides, and the tailings from the tabling of the reground material to find out how much gold is going where. Okay. Visually, here, when I roasted the samples, it freed up a lot of visible silica that was not visible before I roasted it. So apparently a lot of the silica is coated, encapsulated, stuff like that. So when we regrind that, looking on the table, it clearly showed a fairly small gold line, but it's a fairly small amount of material, a fairly wide sulfide line, and then a fairly wide silica line. Okay. And so that would be consistent with what I saw in my roasted materials. There's still a lot of silica in the sulfides, but not easy to separate unless you regrind it or something. Now, I took some roasted material that I roasted with the flash roasting process there. In order to do it, I tilted the furnace rather dramatically so that it would fall away from that wall and it wouldn't build up in the grooves that the heating elements are in. I don't know if that would be a good idea, Rock, because I think they're getting plenty fine enough to separate the sulfides. And at that point, the sulfides are, well, let's see. If we have 100 pounds, we start with 10 tons, so that would be 20,000 pounds. Oops. 20,000 pounds divided by 100. So that'd be a 200 to 1 reduction ratio. Okay. And therefore if we can get a 1 or 200 to 1 reduction ratio and then just regrind the reduced, the cons, that should be better. What was the loss based on the regrind? The sulfide, yeah, the sulfides definitely have silica gang. What is the loss? Have no idea. They're supposed to be taking the samples this week down there and shipping them off to the local lab. My thought would be that in the long run, if we're going to do a regrind, it would probably be best to roast it first and then regrind the roasted material. It'll break up easier and you should get the most mineral liberation and mineral exposure. Then do your gravity separation and then potentially leach all the tailings from that, assuming they have enough gold, which I believe they probably would. That's the thought at this point. It's one of those deals where can't tell for sure until we get some test results back and see how much we're losing where. They'd have the time and the money for the concentrates, Rock. That shouldn't be a problem because we're looking at around 50 kilograms a day of concentrates, and their mini ball mill should be able to handle that in one charge. The regrind should take about 1 or 2 hours. And my thought was get your below gold line sulfide cons, dry them, grind them dry in the ball mill, okay, and then put them on the table and retable. Let's see, sulfide cons, grind them in the ball mill, run them through the roaster, grind them in the ball mill, run them over the table, and then leach the tailings on that, or the concentrates from that, the sulfide concentrates. But we'd have to see. Again, all of this requires you do stuff and take tests, and we don't have that. The only test I can do here, I roasted some of the as-is number 2 below gold line cons, which is running 100 parts per million based on the fire assay. And I roasted it, ground it in a mortar and pestle again, not a whole lot, enough to break everything up cleanly and get it back down to the 100 mesh minus. Then bottle rolled it for 2 days. Then did resin adsorption for 24 hours with 3 additions of resin total, 1 plus 1 plus 1. And so the resin from that, I ashed and fired, a fire assay, and I recovered for the first time a yellow bead. All the time before, when I'd done these resin and pulp stuff and everything, I'm getting silver colored beads. This one was not. This one was yellow, and a pretty good color yellow too. Okay. Oh, absolutely, Rock. I don't have any data at this point, except that when I leached the roasted material, I appeared to get high recoveries of the gold, and I did not get a lot of silver contaminating the gold. My bead was a nice, pretty yellow. And so that's an interesting datum. The silver can be a bit of a nuisance considering its low concentration. And apparently the roasting turns it into an Eco Gold X insoluble compound. Probably, I'm thinking silver oxide. Absolutely, Rock. Well, the more processes, the more costs. This is why, getting the sulfide con is, makes subsequent processes much cheaper per pound. The only way we could do a finer grind initially is to put a smaller screen on the output of the ball mill, and that's going to cost us throughput on the mill total. Whether or not it would achieve better results on the table, I don't know. It's something that wouldn't be terribly difficult to test. We could order in like a 120 mesh screen or 140 mesh screen, and then when the 100 mesh screen wears out, try it and see what happens. And so that's a serious question as to which would be better. We also don't have a solid number for what we're losing in the tailings. They redesigned the mill. Originally, what they had was at the end of the table, you have your hoppers, and they had tubs like this, and we took the downspouts and we just put a bucket under there, okay? And that is how we would recover the various products. However, these all drained to tailings. Okay, so the tailings came over here and that all went to the pond. And so any floats or anything like that, any inefficiencies here was automatically thrown in with the tailings. The tailings were running about 3 grams per ton. And so the new methodology has all this going into their own collection. It's a big one. It's like 5 by 10 feet by 4 feet deep. So anything you lose here, and these right here, they're just taking the buckets out entirely. This is the only one they're really worried about. And they're going to this sump here, and then that will be retabled. Okay. No, it's 2 parts per million, Rock. Did I say 2 ounces? 200ths? No, it was 0.1 millimeter. Yeah, exactly. It's already going to a 100 mesh screen. And I'm not sure, once you start getting finer than that, it's going to slow down the throughput. So again, you're balancing these various things. As long as 100 mesh gets you excellent recoveries of the sulfides and the heavies, then you can reprocess the next step. Another thing that's different than a lot of places, Rock, is a laborer costs you about $15 a day. And so if somebody is throwing a charge in the little mini ball mill, running it for an hour or two, taking the charge out, using that charge to now run the flash roaster, and taking the roasted stuff from yesterday, putting it back in the mini Molino, grinding it up again, and then sending it to retable. It's not that expensive to have somebody doing these hand processes, not nearly like it would be up here. Right now, they're working, Rock, they're doing a lot of hand mining with demolition hammers, and that's less than the total mill throughput capacity. They're trying to open some other work areas and get some other material that they can take out with an excavator and stockpile. Total mill throughput is about 10 tons per day. And so I have no idea. I'm not that familiar with the labor situation down there. I do know the miners are inordinately fond of getting paid in ore rather than money. Even though theoretically everything is just bagged up, and then the mine owners actually select which bags they want to process. But I don't know. Yeah, Rocket. At the present time, it doesn't seem to be a huge bottleneck type issue. They need to increase their mining capacity. They've been working hard to increase their ore grade, and it's one of those things that there's a lot of things being changed and try to be improved at once. So it gets not only confusing but daunting to try and stay up on all these things. Poor Jared wasn't getting much sleep, but that's why they said and there's kind of some time and financial constraints too, which is why they wanted me to quickly get some way of leaching the concentrates. There's not a huge amount of gold in the concentrates, but we're looking at somewhere between 5 and 10 grams a day, and right now gold is over $150 a gram. So 5 grams a day be $750 a day. Well, at $16 a person, that adds up pretty quick. And so that's what they wanted me to do initially. And using a chemical oxidation, so they didn't have to move this over here. So they didn't have to take the time to get roasting equipment in place. Okay. So that was the criteria, the constraints earlier. Now, finding that he can regrind and get another gold line off of it makes him very happy. The question is, at this point, how much is that gold line? Is that 20% of the gold in the sulfide cons? Is it 80%? Is it somewhere in the middle? We don't know. They're supposed to take samples this week where they take the sulfides, regrind them, sample them, table them, measure how much gold they recover, take a sample of the sulfide cons from the re-table and a sample from the tailings from the re-table, and send them off to the local lab for an assay. And then we'll have a ballpark at least. Hi, Red Wing. How much are we getting? I mean, and I do not expect this at all, but if they were to regrind it, run it over the table and get 90% of the gold out, it's like, yeah, just stockpile those sulfides for later. Don't worry about it. On the other hand, yeah, there's no mercury involved in any of these. If they get like 50%, but then they also increase the recovery speed and efficiency of a subsequent leach, that's good. So these are some of the things I've been trying to figure out. Hey, Greg. So again, as usual, things are indeterminate at the moment, but we've, made some progress in terms of, hey, if you can just regrind it and get some more gold out of it like that, that's good. And the other thing I'm going to be testing with this batch, I just roasted enough so I now have a 200-gram batch to bottle roll. And this I'm going to also see whether it's efficiently electrowind. Okay. It seems to be reasonably efficient to do it with resin, but electrowinning is cheaper and faster. So we shall see. If it will direct electrowind reasonably well, that would be really good. So this particular test I'm working on right now, it's neutralizing at the moment. The pH is adjusting. I got 100 grams of roasted as is too. Going to have 600 grams of leach solution, 600 cc's. And then after 2 days of bottle rolling, I'll decant clear solution into a beaker and then do the electrowinning where I just have a little stir on the bottom of the beaker and 2 plates sitting close together and with electric current on them. It's kind of inefficient, but it'll do what I need to do. I need to find out how well that's going to work. Maybe you could build a. They've already got a village over near the mine, about 20 minutes away. That's got like 1,500 people in it. But as I say, that's much. And then after I do the electrolytic, the electrowinning, I'll take and put resin in there and recover what I can. Okay, and see what happens. If I can efficiently electrowin it, then the long run process could be table as we do now, retable the cons as we do now to clean them up quite a bit and get the gold out of them. Okay, smelt the gold line, regrind, dry, and fine grind the sulfides, flash roast the sulfides, regrind them again just to break everything up, make sure they're really fine, and then leach them. And that should leach pretty darn quick, Could be. I'm not Lucky Gupta. Who are I? I'm Keith Bowen. I'm a miner in Helena, Montana. I've got 50 years experience in mining and prospecting and stuff. I do not have any degrees. Okay. I just have a lot of practical experience. So I have no particular affinity for Eco Gold X. I don't have any dislike of it, but it's expensive and it is theoretically got some regulatory issues. If I can find a leaching solution that's less expensive, easier to make from commonly acquired materials, that is, doesn't make a lot of fumes or something like that, and is easy to use, easy to permit, I'm perfectly happy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be probably trying thiosulfate leaches next. probably going to have to build a flash roaster next. The plan is, at the moment, is to take a pipe, relatively small diameter, put a larger pipe around it, put a burner on here so that the flame goes in a cyclonic manner all the way up and leaves up there. Close this end here, close this end here. And then up here have a hopper with a screw feeder. So it feeds into this pipe and free falls down the pipe all the way down to here. If you insulate this here, the entire inner core you should be able to keep at 1500 degrees plus without too much trouble. And so let's see. Make something. So the idea is with this, there's going to be a significant draft coming up here because it's hot. You probably have to put a throttle valve up here to keep the updraft from blowing stuff up, but still allow enough fresh air in the bottom so that as the material falls through the column, it flash roasts on the way down. Okay, and so by doing that, the only moving part is this little auger right here. Okay, and just a small gear motor would be able to move that. And this is just a simple propane torch burner. Applies the heat there, and that's about it. It's pretty pretty simple if it works well. And I think the feed rate I would need was somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 grams per second. Oh yeah, she's talking with her son in Boston there, honey bunny.
Yeah, what weather's like.
You know, my brother. So anyhow, hey, blind dude. So that's my concept for the roaster. Real simple mechanically, real simple thermodynamically. Assuming it can do the job, I would think your maintenance issue is going to be, this is going to tend to get stuff on the inside stuck to it. I'm thinking if you use stainless steel here, you know, just the wire brush you use to clean out a shotgun or something bigger, you know, once a day would be fine. Yeah, let me know how that works, Greg. I'm kind of busy. So I say that's my concept for the roaster. I think it should do pretty well. We shall see what we shall see. The one problem I noticed in the kiln was that the solids do not have enough time to get fully roasted before they hit the collection container, you know, and that would be, you know, by just increasing the height. I mean, this would be, if this was 2 feet tall, it would be 4 times what I'm using right now. And then if you ground it, you know, even finer, it'll flash faster, you know. one of the concerns I have, Wage Slave, with the PVC cement is how do you keep the PVC cement from just coating everything? You know?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you should do when you get a car is
For
buy a
steering and-
full-size rim repair anyway. So you can rotate tires, 5 tires instead of 4. It's only now.
Yeah, well, let me know how it works, Greg. I say right now I'm working on what I can't afford basic research right now. Mine's very much applied at the moment. Yes, I understand how they show it, Honey Bunny. But if you, okay, let's say these are individual particles, because he grinds the ion exchange resin up and then mixes it with PVC cement. Okay. And you get a membrane here. How do you keep all of these surfaces from being completely covered with the PVC cement, making them impermeable? Or is the PVC cement somewhat impermeable? I don't know. Okay. But again, right now I've got stuff keeping me busy. That's why, since Greg wants to try it, it's like, cool, let me know how it works. That's what is claimed, Honey Bunny. I agree. I don't know if that's true, though. Can you take me tip study? I'm not exactly what you mean by a tip study, Gupta. I've got a whole lot of videos that explain the subjects that I work on, but I'm unclear as to what you're asking. It could be, Honey Bunny. As I said, right now I don't have the time to even worry about it. I'm busy. This is why it's great to have other people out there like Brian and Greg that'll try these things. I can't really do that, Gupta. I'm not an IT person, Gupta. I'm pick and shovel kind of guy. Okay. I dig rock and process rock. That's my specialty. But anyhow, say if the ion exchange resins and stuff work, that's fine. They could be applied further downstream. First, I got to get it in solution. And if there's better solutions than the one I'm using, I'm not picky. I'll switch. I'm not married to it. You betcha, Gupta. I say I like to teach what I know, but I'm not very good with electronics at all. That's what my wife does. No problem, Gupta. Anyhow, so that's basically what I'm working on right now and trying to refine the parameters of leaching the roasted material because I haven't done much with roasted material before. Okay. That sounds good, Honey Bunny. Yep. It's nice when you can get the haul truck next to the mine, Greg. So let's say that's what I'm doing right now. One thing I noticed was the roasted material seems to buffer the pH of the solution a bit. Once it got up to 9.8, it didn't seem to change much at each edition of the Eco Gold X, which is not what I would have expected. Eco Gold X is naturally higher than 10. I would have expected that pH to come up, and it really didn't. So I'm doing some experimenting on that right now. I presume I make some sort of compound that is a bit of a pH buffer. The natural pH was like a 6.7 of the roasted material. I took the 200-gram sample, put in 600 cc's of water, bottle rolled it for a couple of hours, and it was a pH of 6.8. Then I added 7 grams of lime. I say I'm trying to get it up with the sulfide material. As long as I was above a pH of 8, the Eco Gold X by itself would take it up above 10. This stuff doesn't seem to. I was using the O, the Eco Gold X O. I did some testing with this ore, and the S didn't seem to do any better than the O for what I've got. And so the O is cheaper. That's what they were going to order for down there. So I've been doing all my tests with the O at this point. There was they gave me the O and the S. I don't know if there was another agent or not. My mind seems to think there was a third one, but I can't recall it. Yeah. If it doesn't do any better, why pay more? 20% more cost for zero improvement in performance. Matter of fact, some tests the O actually worked a little better with this particular ore. We shall see. So that's what I'm trying to refine right now. And Jared just got back theoretically like last night. So it'll probably be a day or two for him to just recover from the trip and get caught up with his family. He's got 4 kids. And so then I can talk to them. But I need to also start working on an actual design for this roaster. I obviously don't have to have the hopper and the feeder to start with. I could just manually feed stuff in. My thought is, if this is a threaded piece of pipe, it's easy to get a 2-foot long piece of threaded pipe. Then I can put a nipple up here, ball valve on the end. I could put a Y right here and then just manually feed stuff in. We'll see. On a totally different note, these guys. I'm pretty sure I did, Rock. I know that money came up short and they were working really hard to increase production, and that might have had something to do with it. Let me write a note here because, yeah, it was, it got kind of tight. You know how this can go. I think they would be well advised to get you down there as soon as they can afford you, to give them some help figuring out exactly where they ought to be mining. Because they don't know and I don't know. I mean, they got an idea, and of course the miners there, they know everything, of course. Jared said it was kind of amusing. Yeah, I'll go ahead and recontact them on that. I put a note. Keep checking in case I lose the note. Things can get pretty chaotic, especially with this old geezer brain. Wow. Of course you would, Brock. But see how fast I can forget where I was at. I'm not sure what I was talking about when I got distracted for a second. Yeah, sulfides will tend to drop the pH, but depending on other stuff, the other thing that'll cause your pH to drop is other minerals consuming it, but the Eco Goldex content can drop just by dissolving minerals. Eva noticed quite a while ago that the amount of Eco Goldex consumed in the agitation tank at the mill was proportional to the grade of the solution we got out of it. You know, so that's another parameter. I'm keeping track of, I'm keeping track of all this data, taking samples, testing them, and throwing back in the bottle, so that if there is a useful correlation somewhere along the line, we can take advantage of it. You know, it's one of those things that sometimes you just stumble over useful stuff, and other times you got to work hard to make it work. You never know, but always keep your eyes open.
You looking forward to it?
And what else I got on the board here? Yeah, it's just like the gold silver ratio changes with the roasting. You know, that was something I didn't expect. Okay, those are the subjects I worked on this week. Well, it doesn't seem to raise the pH very much on this concentrate. Yeah, I say just keep track of all your variables as you're doing stuff, and then if something useful shows up, you can notice it. Another thing that I'm going to see about doing, Chris Georgie sent me a table years ago. He set up a spreadsheet to do the calculations for the weight of a gold bead of a known size. Of course, the problem is I've got non-gold beads of known size. I can easily measure the size of a bead. That I can do easily under a microscope. I can get within 1 or 2 thousandths. Okay, if it's like 75 thousandths, it's going to be plus or minus 2. If it's like 40 thousandths, plus or minus 1. The problem is, especially with the silver beads, how much gold is that? So I'm looking at, hey, Alex, how's it going? Looking at sending some of my beads, I'll measure them first and then send them over to Hittle, because he's got a much more sensitive scale. Have him measure the beads in quart and part, and then measure the gold bead after parting. And that would allow me to calibrate something, so I can say, okay, if the bead is this size, this is how much gold and silver is in it, roughly. Cool, Alex. By the way, I don't know if you know it, but I just traded someone my Minelab 5000 that my brother had given me for a Gold Monster and a Excalibur from Mine Lab. Excalibur is an underwater um, metal detector, but it'll work on surface, of course. Yeah, but I can't weigh them accurately. That's my problem, Rock. You know, when you're weighing 11 milligrams, it's nice to have a scale that can measure it with a high precision. Since he's a fire assayer, he has the equipment to measure it with a high precision, and then he can also, part it too to let me know what's my normal gold to silver ratio. But then with a dozen, maybe 2 dozen at the most beads, I should be able to calibrate and get a line and say, okay, if it's this big, that's what's in it, you know?
It's a cheap way to spend time in a different place.
Oh, I can do that, Alex. I can do 1,000th of a gram on a little digital scale, which I wouldn't trust to get me within, plus or minus 0.002 grams. But, because I can sit there and I can take a bead and drop it on there and then drop it on there again and see the reading vary dramatically. What I need is something that can do it like 0.0001 or 0.0001, a $10,000 balance. Those are pretty expensive, but I know someone who's got one. So as I say, since I have an unknown percentage of silver and an unknown total weight to within high precision, I was saying, how much would it cost, Lawrence, to just send you some beads? You take those beads, in-quart plenty of silver, and, weigh it, in-quart it, part it, and then weigh the gold afterwards. He hasn't given me an actual number back yet. And then I can calibrate the thing. So, okay, if I'm doing an Eco Gold X dissolution of this ore without roasting, it should have this much silver in it, and it's going to weigh that much gold and that much silver. Okay. Then we would have a method down there, because fire assay is easy to do the fire part of it. It's the measuring part that gets kind of tricky. That's
pretty good.
Yeah, you could do that too, Alex. Yep. That's it. There's different ways of doing it. You could send the bead to a lab that'll do a digestion and then run it through an ICP. That would work too. Say as long as I know how much gold and how much silver was in the bead that I measured to be this big. Another thing that you wind up with on the larger beads is if here's the surface of your cupel, a larger bead will be more like that. A smaller bead will be rounder. So, but I'm dealing with beads in the order of 40 to 60 thousandths of an inch across, 20, 30, maybe 40 milligrams total, So, as I say, I'm going to have to use a lab somewhere to get that kind of precision. But once I got a set of them done, I should be able to rough it in so that down there they can fire, which is easy enough to do, and then just measure the bead look on the chart. It's going to be about that, you know, not too hard. Yeah, the problem is my Electrum runs like 2 to 3 parts silver, which doesn't dissolve very well. That'd be nice, Alex. Costs money. And it also helps to have a lab. I'm not sure where the closest ICP machine is to the mine. Probably in Managua. But again, this is the sort of thing to get a rough estimate. You know, your speedometer only does it to the nearest half mile per hour. That's enough for what you need it for. But there are certain things where you need a lot higher precision than that. That we don't for process control and stuff, but we need something that's at least close. You know? Where's Hamilton, Alex? Yeah, Reno's a little ways away from Nicaragua, and about 6 weeks of time once it shows up at the lab, plus a fair amount of money. I've got a $30 digital scale that measures 0.001. Let's say I can take a bead, drop it on there, 0.02, 002, drop it on again, 0.003, drop it on again, 0.006, drop it on again, 0.004. You know, I'd at least like the last digit to be the same each time, and it's not. You know, and that's part of the thing. Say so if we, it's kind of like the copper wire dip test. Doesn't give you much in the way of digits, but it certainly gives you a yes or no, and that's the important thing. Are you done? Yes or no? You know, you don't care if you're 83% done. You care whether you're done. You know, and really, okay. Thank you, Rock. Reno's not overnight from Nicaragua, not in the boonies. Now, we're not using a micrometer. We use optical measurement. Got a microscope with a reticle in it. Each division is 1/1000th of an inch. Works pretty good. Real easy to do. A Gemini 20, huh? I'll write that down here. Gemini 20. I'm not sure what scale I've got. Oh, you betcha, honey bunny. Trying to get the same torque on a micrometer each time is not easy unless it's got a clutch. You know, but as I say, I don't need to worry about that. I'm just optically measuring it. So I can get that measurement with a high degree of accuracy very easily. The question is, what does it mean? So that's why I was thinking of sending some, call them calibration beads, to Hiddle, and then having processed them, and that way I'd have a chart, you know. It's kind of hard to use a micrometer on a bead that's only 60,000ths of an inch across, isn't it, Greg? Oh, you certainly can, Pitbull. There's lots of gold in northern Arizona. Probably more in northwest Arizona has mineralization. Northeast Arizona, pretty much about the only thing you find there is uranium, coal. It's all sedimentary over there. How's the weather up here? Oh, let's see. A lot warmer than it would normally be. That's for sure. What is it now? The wind was up today. 31 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, the wind's dried off a bit. It's only 13 miles an hour now. It was going 20 to 30 before. Let's see. Super fine tweezers. I'd rather just optically measure it. Again, if you're just measuring the size, that gets you part of the way there, but then you have to interpret what size is what weight, and that has to what?
Lon Chapman texted and said to call him about your bead dimensions problem.
Lon Chapman.
Because he's got a chart by Charles Butler that he's got out at his dig area that he can get to you.
Okay.
Next week.
Okay.
Just call him this coming like Tuesday or Wednesday to remind him.
Okay. Yeah, let's say I've got the problem of I know what a pure gold bead calculates out to by its diameter, according to Chris. And I actually just picked one size that was pretty easy to calculate myself and just redid the calculations by hand. It came out pretty close as far as I was concerned. But then the question is also how much silver is in there? When I'm looking at a bead that is silver colored, I know it's at least 50% silver, but it could be 90% silver. It could be 100% silver. I couldn't tell. So that's the other part of the issue that I'm dealing with is trying to figure out how much silver is in there and double check it and stuff. You could do that, Greg. I said I can do it in seconds with an optical comparator. It's not hard at all. By the way, let me grab that. I'll see something here. Okay, this one's called a thin scale. Now, the line on this piece of paper it's a little wiggly here. Come on. Is 10,000ths of an inch across. That's how quick it goes. It's that easy to do. So that's why I like the optical comparator for measuring the diameter. Interpreting that, let's say my big thing is silver content. I have a thing here. So let's see. That's a good question, Alex. It obviously doesn't oxidize too fast just from heat and oxygen, atmospheric oxygen, or it wouldn't work too well during the cupelling process, but it will boil off to some extent. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. That's because you got some weird stuff you work with, Alex. That's just some crazy stuff you got to deal with. But no, I'm looking at that possibility too. Assuming I get the guys down in Nicaragua making good money and everything, my budget will, get a lot easier. But nevertheless, I still like to have tests or develop tests that allows them to make decisions in real time as much as possible at the mine itself. Beryllium fumes, huh? When you say crazy, is that because it's incredibly dangerous? You take care, Rock. Keep it safe, okay? Yeah. Good luck. Really? Beryllium makes mercury look safe, huh? Wow. That sounds undesirable. Beryllium, huh? Let me check something here. Beryllium, less than 0.01 parts per million. Okay, so that's good. I'll try and remember to keep looking for it in the future. Jet aircraft brakes, huh? Wow. Well, that's not going to have any fumes or dust or anything, is it? Brakes are always so clean. Uh-huh. Well, that would be interesting. If the term interesting involves, holy shit! Anyhow, so that's basically the progress report for this week. Does anyone have any questions or subjects they want to bring up? What is the mechanism, Alex? Is it a chemical poison or does it do something else in some way? Actually, Honey Bunny, falling commercial kills people worse. Really? Okay, well, that would make sense because something like a fighter jet's going to have the lightest brakes it can that'll still do the job. It's never impossible to recover, Justin. The question is it economic to recover? So if you're dealing with a Jasper, it's going to be pretty generally impermeable. It's like glass. And so you would probably have to do a pretty fine grind to get a reasonable recovery. But that's for testing. Immune, huh? Okay. So what you would need to do would be a leaching test on it. And relatively simple to do, but you need to know what the grade is, what the tons are, to see, and what the stripping ratio was too. But I mean, is this just little deposits of low grade material, or is it pretty big, 3 ounce to the ton stuff? Because, if it's rich enough, hell, you can direct smelt it, but it'd have to be insanely rich. So it is possible to recover it. It's always possible to recover it. It's just not necessarily economical. So that would be the question. If it was just plain jasper and it's not like fractured jasper where the mineralization is in the cracks, then it'd have to be pretty rich, I would think, before it'll be economical. Let's see. Yeah, for big operators, tonnage is big. For small operators, grade is usually more important. If you're going to be selling it to a big mining company, then that's not that important. If you go out there and find a mountain that's got 5/100ths of an ounce per ton, but it's a little bit tricky to get to, well, that's probably not going to be terribly useful for you, but for a big mining company, it might. You have to do a little more research, and then at that point, what you do is you get an option with the mining company so that they can see about coming and optioning your property and buying it. That gets a little more complicated, but it's fairly cheap. And quite often, if you have something of any significance, they will rent it from you while they're testing it. And then if they don't like it, they just walk away. But you've at least got the rent. And the important thing is, too, get copies of their reports. So let's say it doesn't matter if you can't use it. As long as somebody can make money off of it, you can potentially sell it to them, lease it to them, or whatever. Take care, Greg. Nice seeing you. So, I say, question is, who's going to exploit it? Just talking to a gentleman today about a mining situation. It's an old mine and everything. The thing is, how far would you say that mine is from the Jay Gold? Maybe a half a mile, little one. Maybe a half a mile.
On a good day.
So there's another mine there that was an old, decent sized producer that they're looking at maybe reopening. So if you got one next door that may be an extension of that mineralization, hey, you know, they may want to buy it from you. Well, if you've seen my panning videos, you can pan pretty fine with that. You can easily get down to 500 mesh. The crushing, that's another situation. Okay. But they do make little miniature crushers like the Cobra crusher. There's another one or two of those real small crushers that fits on a angle grinder that will crush small samples pretty, you know, fine. But and they're not horribly expensive. I don't know, what is a Cobra crusher running nowadays? Cobra crusher. By the way, the Vevor makes a little 3 horsepower, 220 volt impact mill for $764. The Cobra crusher is $449, and I'm pretty confident that is without the angle grinder. But you can get an angle grinder fairly inexpensively. Jaw crusher with motor. That's a pretty good sized jaw crusher there. Good Lord. Does anyone need a... What is this thing? Belt-driven jaw crusher, motor and frame. Let's see what size. It looks like a big one. I mean, that thing's a beast. For $560. From China Goods, whatever that means. I don't know if it's any if it's safe or not, but looking at it, looks like at least a 6x8. China Goods. Holy crap. I mean, it's just that motors cost you that much if it was a new motor. Let's see. Shipping, delivery, returns, payments. Let's see if we can. Brand new, unused, unopened. Weight 900 kilograms. So did that give you an idea? That's a decent sized machine. Man, they've got some cheap ass jaw crushers out there. Just Google it, folks. They've got some serious sized jaw crushers, pretty cheap. What the hell? This is crazy stuff. So, yeah. I'm not sure why they're so cheap or whether they'll show up if you order them. It says free delivery. FOB, the freight dock, maybe. It's on eBay. So just putting it out there. Yeah, it just doesn't say what the size is. Oh, it's a 200-300. So that's probably 200 millimeter by 300 millimeter, which would
20
be...
centimeters by 30, so something by 12.
Okay.
9 by 12.
I think it's more like 8x12, but yeah.
Somewhere around there.
I say this thing says it's like an 8x12 jaw crusher with motor. It shows it's got the belts, belt guard, multi, multi groove pulley, and the flywheel, and a frame. It says $560. Holy crap! For an 8x12? What the hell? That's insanely cheap. See, that's my thought, Alex. Alex Biku mine. I'm looking at that price and I'm like, yeah, you can pay for it, but are you going to ever see it? Hi, Justin. Well, the problem with creek beds is you do not know how, it's not going to generally have the super fine gold, but it's easy to pan. Get a sample, just take some window screen it to window screen size, and then wet pan it. And if there's something there, it could work. But it's not hard to do. And once you've got the equipment, a pan and a screen, and the skill, it's not that hard. Now this one, yeah, it's actually a good size jaw crusher. Now, my concern is like Alex Biku said, yeah, you can pay for it, but you're never going to receive it, Wouldn't surprise me, Gene, but I mean, this thing's so heavy that it's I'm just very suspicious that it's just a ripoff. That's my guess. It could be. I mean, I'm sure it's not a big heavy duty crusher, but heck, if you got an 8x12 crusher and you're throwing 3-inch rocks in it, it shouldn't be too hard on it. But yeah, I say it's like, wow, something's wrong there. For that price, something's wrong. So, say I would be very, very suspicious of that. I just don't even know how they're going to get it delivered for that price. What's the old saying? If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Bill Kufine. Is this a hammer mill you make or something that you've purchased, Alex Belku? There's a lot of good mines out there. There's a lot of reasons to shut down a mine besides running out of ore or not finding ore. But it can be anything from financial troubles to the owner died and the heirs didn't care, didn't want to do anything with it. You just have to do your research and check it out yourself. But there's a guy that I actually looked at his mine years ago, and it was interesting. It was obviously a significant size mine at the time. Wouldn't call it a major one, but they moved a fair amount of rock, And I forget what the values were, but it was interesting, but not horribly exciting. On the other hand, he kept checking things out and this and that, and he found a parallel structure that runs like 5 ounces to the ton. So a lot of times the old mines show you that there was something in the area, and there could be another ore body that was not discovered at the time, or it could be that they didn't have the ability to crush and recover superfine gold. And so even though there was reasonable grade and reasonable tonnage nearby, they were only going after the high grade veinlets and pockets and stuff. You just have to check it out and see. There's no general rule that applies to everything. Where are you at, Justin? Scott Equipment. Okay, let me see here. Scott Equipment. Heavy duty construction equipment. Industrial processing equipment. Sounds more like it there. Okay. Test lab. Products. Okay, feeder, continuous mixers, blenders, thermal pit eliminator, conveyor, scalper, slurry grinder, deagglomeration. These are mostly blenders here. Minerals. Jump to products. Okay, the AST dryer. Well, that doesn't seem to have an impact mill there. Is it a different Scott Equipment? Let's see. Hammer mill. Prater hammer mills. Hammermills.com. Scott Equipment. Hydraulic hammers and breakers. Doesn't have hammer mills. It's not showing up. Rock Labs hammer mill. Scott Technology, maybe. I want English, US. Rock Labs hammer mill. Features, specifications, 60 millimeter, product size 90% minus 2 mil. That breaks it up, but it doesn't pulverize it. Central Utah, okay. Utah should still have some gold. You're going to have to be selective where you look for it. As a general rule, look where other metals haven't been found before. Somebody's calling me. Walgreens. I must have a prescription. I don't doubt that Mount Baker makes good equipment. They seem pretty good quality, but I haven't looked at them personally. But they look reasonable quality. They are not cheap, but cost and return. Yeah, if you're gonna run it for a while, you don't just necessarily want to get the cheaper. So, well, that's another thing we could do, little one. If we go over there to, what do you call it? Oh gosh, the gold mine over there in central Washington.
Liberty?
The Liberty Mine. Yeah, we could also theoretically swing up to Bellingham and talk to Jason at Mount Baker, maybe. We'll see. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do this summer. It could be very complicated, or it could be pretty simple. It's just undetermined at the time, So we shall see what we shall see. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Virtue. My Star Trek communicator. Oh. Any other subjects coming up, anybody? Well, that's the weekly update as of now. We'll see what happens. By the way, when they cleaned the ball mill out down south, they didn't find doodly inside the mill itself. There might be stuff behind the plates. They didn't take the plates out, but they took a pressure washer to it. Hi, Rick. And they didn't find squat for gold. Now, in the spiral classifier, which is basically their conveyor to get the oversize back up now that they got a screen, they found plenty of gold there. We'll see, Justin. I'm pretty busy, but yeah, that looks to be an interesting year, that's for sure. We're just flying by the seat of our pants right now. It's IFR conditions and a little bumpy, but not too bad. But it is kind of hard to see where we're going. Just flying straight and level and hoping we wind up in a good spot. Oh. Yeah, pretty much. Some people are better at it than others. The nice thing with Eva and I is because we live so modestly, it's not nearly as risky for us as for somebody who has a lot of resources that they can lose if they make a mistake. So whatever. Okay. Second call. Anyone got a good subject or question they want to bring up here? Okay, well, Alex B, we got another Alex on right now too. Alex B, we're here every Monday evening at 6 Montana time, which is, I think it's Mountain Daylight Time. That's how it works out at. But anyhow, so yeah, we do this every Monday evening. Lets everyone get together and ask questions and talk to each other and stuff at one point in time. So, how much gold did you pull out of the ground recently? Personally, not much. I've been working, trying to help other people at the moment. Hopefully we'll have a pretty interesting summer this summer working with Jeff Kablock. That has potential. But aside from that, it's just very iffy. There's another subject that came up just today that looked interesting. Well, thank you, Justin. Oh, I was talking to Lauren the other day, and he says he knows someplace where somebody lost a wedding ring years ago. That might be good to take that Excalibur down there and try and find. Unfortunately, probably going to have tanks, because I think it's like 15, 20 feet of water. And that's just too deep to skin dive, as far as I'm concerned. Some people, that's a walk in the park. Not for this old geezer. But I can tell you this, it's going to be a long time before Lauren has time to worry about it. Dude be busy right now. Oh, really got flooded out bad, huh, honey bunny? Jeez. Well, as long as it's not too deep for the goats to navigate. Oh, that'd suck to have to try and get the goats out of the mud. That wouldn't be much fun. Thank you, Justin. All righty. Well, I think we'll call it a night then. And see you next week. Thanks for everyone showing up. And thanks for the good question. Well, your goats can handle that then, honey bunny. You had me all excited, huh? So happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. Let's see. End stream. Thank you, Gene.